Hello everyone, I'm Lisa Lind. I've just got in. And today we're back to more Dragon Age Origins. I'm giving it some thought in between sessions, and I think I'm just going to spend this session read codexes. So, yeah, sorry, no quest-related stuff. Hopefully next session. And we'll be starting in Creatures, Entry 4, Ashwraith. Legend has it that when Andraste's ashes were taken into hiding, some of her closest disciples gave themselves to the fire, that their restless souls might remain to guard her final resting place forever. Whether they are the spirits of Andraste's disciples, or merely Fade spirits, the temple that houses the sacred urn is filled with wraiths. Created from a burnt corpse, an Ashwraith is a powerful, amorphous opponent, able to lash and smother, while being immune to most physical attacks. Even if successfully dispersed, it can reform at a later time. Magic is the only real way to fight such a creature, wind and ice attacks being the most useful. They are capable of creating small whirlwinds that are devastating to anyone unfortunate enough to get close, and their touch leaves the person drained. So in other words, not nice creatures. Just not nice at all. And let's go to 18. Nug. Hip deep in the mad nugs. Screams deafen their keen ears. We will be Nug Poop. Okay. From Songs That Only Nugs Can Hear by Paragon Ebrian. 584 Exalted. Well, that's a song. The Nug is an omnivore. Didn't know it's omnivore. Come to the deep roads, a hairless creature that is almost blind as well as completely docile. It spends most of its time wading in shallow pools as well as mud pits, feeding on small insects, worms, and, in a pinch, limestone and simple metals. Ugh, that does not sound appetizing. Indeed, the digestive system of a Nug is legendary, able to make a meal out of almost anything a Nug finds on the cavern floors. Nugs reproduce rapidly, spreading into any niche within the deep roads they can find, and serve to support a variety of predators, such as giant spiders and deep stalkers. Also, people. Just saying, they're tasty. Or so I've heard. So too do dwarves make meals on them. See? Called it. Nugs are, in the poorer slum portions of Orzammar, one of the most common sources of meat available. Some dwarves even domesticate the creatures, claiming to find the creature high-pitched squeaks pleasing. What squeak? And that's a Daria reference if you don't know. It is a great show. You should go watch it. Items. Number 40. Blood ring. Wholesome. There are clear signs that this ring was made in the Tevinter Imperium. You don't say. Something that has blood in the title having to do with Tevinter. It's covered in dragon motifs, for one thing. Well, that too, but I would more go with the blood route first. And it gives anyone who wears it a slightly uneasy feeling. For another. Like I said, Tevinter. But beyond that, very little is known about it. Warriors of House Evo took this ring in the Blessed Age from the hand of a madman, a surfacer mage, who had wandered into the underground and attacked lyrium miners near Orzammar. From there, the ring changed hands many times, until its history has been lost and the dwarves no longer remember how it had ever come into their hands. Lands. I know words. Anyway, 49. Thorn of the Dead Gods. Cheery. In the moment that it struck, the blade of the Grey Warden who killed Toth, Archdemon of Fire, shattered into 3 pieces. After the Battle of Hunterfell, the Wardens carried their fallen brother to Wysop for a hero's burial, but the broken piece of his sword were left behind. Oh, that's sad. For years, the shards lay forgotten on the battlefield. Oh, that's double sad. Poor weapon. Steel became etched with the corrupted blood of the dead god. They were eventually discovered by a Navarin woman, searching among the bones for a sign of her lost son. She sold them to the blacksmith, not knowing what they truly were, for 10 bits. Oh, that's sad. She got ripped off. The smith, however, knew that he had purchased more than scrap metal and fashioned the shards into 3 identical daggers, the thorns of the dead gods. They left his hands and were scattered to the far corners of Thedas. But everywhere they went, the thorns left misery and loss in their wake. The woman who unearthed them died soon after of plague. The smith fell to his forge. Ouch! It's gotta be bad. Each person who has held one of the thorns, even briefly, has died an untimely death. I think I have it equipped to someone right now. Sorry, guys. Let's go do quest related, get that knocked out real quick. And I'm kind of jumping all over the place. Key to the city. While your concerns have merit, the Assembly has made itself clear. Space within the Tig is at a premium, but the intended function of the hall merits the additional resources committed. The statue of the Paragons must be the core of the Hall of Heroes. There is no other placement that so benefits dwarven interests. It is the first glimpse the surface ambassadors have of Orzammar, an introduction not just to our living ancestors, but also to the stone from which we were born. They must see it shaped before they can understand the complexity of its raw form. The hall must also serve a second purpose, as a last sight for the departed brethren. Those who chose to leave must do so with the heavy gaze of their ancestors at their backs. It is a reminder of duty and of consequence. We will promote all manner of trade, but also reinforce that those who leave for too long will return as strangers to the stone. Yep, that sounds like my people. Welcoming and so accepting. From a report of the Assembler Zoning Commission. Yeah, that feels about right. Pursuant to Order 5-1A, no dwarf of indeterminate caste may conduct business in the Commons. This was subsequently classified by the Assembly to mean that the owning and operating of stalls or kiosks, and limited to those of identified and approved houses, names, and traceable ancestry or lineage of at least 3 generations. Exceptions include individual purchases of goods or services from established stalls or kiosks, provided the funds are presented at the opening of the transaction. I know what words mean, shut up. At the distinction of the stall or kiosk owner. I'm sure you understand the need to maintain a strict quality control over all goods and services that flow through Orzammar, especially when we are making a concerted effort to encourage outside investment. The standards of Dust Town and that of the common brand are simply not sufficient. Your trade permit is hereby denied. From a judgment of the Assembled Trade Council regarding Midal's reclaimed wares. Yeah, also my people. The restriction of your authority is a temporary consideration, and not a verdict imposed lightly. The Assembly feels that efforts to maintain the sanctity of the proving have faltered. Have they? I kind of awesome. This is a gentleman's contest, and gentlewoman's, just saying, where featured generals and respected veterans display their skills. It is intended to be inspiring. Well, I think I was very inspiring, both in my dark and televised matches. Well, it's not televised, but you know what I mean. The ones everyone was allowed to attend. And remind the lower castes why their leaders lead. We acknowledge the usefulness of a form for settling of honor debts, and concedes that the occasional defeat of a noble can serve as appeasement, provided it is by a peer, and the contest is properly adjudicated. Extending this practice to the lower castes would prove a dangerous and barbaric precedent. Yeah, they'd get their butts kicked. We have already seen the disruption of the unauthorized fighters can cause. The recent brand incident. Wait, what recent brand incident? What are you talking about, Gabe? Are you saying there should have been another path? And similar incidents should be discouraged from all possible prejudice. For an assembly writ of censure regarding the management of the provings. Yeah, my people, everyone. My people. And this keeps going, by the way. It is agreed that no rules of procedure were explicitly broken, but a 5-day filibuster is nonetheless worthy of censure. Yeah, it is. Division of House Gorsomont property was deliberated for a full session, and forfeiture of the southern estate deemed a necessity. Since the birth of young Cade necessitates his elevation to noble status, and it is unthinkable for Noble's family to live in the slums, it is the responsibility of the father to accommodate the placement of his family. It is not possible to simply generate new space in the diamond quarter without compromising the tag's structural integrity. So in other words, we're running out of room. Because, we used to be spread out all over down here in the deep... Well, not here in the deep worlds, but just under Thetis in general. And now we're starting to run out of room. Because we've lost so much territory. Lord Dace's comment that if Lord Garasmot didn't want a new heir, he shouldn't have slummed for a concubine, was indeed inappropriate. Yeah, it was totes inappropriate. But the proper procedure for resolution through proving was followed. Both parties agreed to accept his retraction, and that matter is considered separate and closed. The decision of the Assembly regarding the placement of the Dunecourt clan stands. From a writ of Assembly Zoning Council regarding the placement of the Dunecourt clan. Yeah, my people seem to love their paperwork. Your efforts have been exemplary, but these self-proclaimed cartels must defer to the Assembly and restore order. Exclusion from caste and society is no excuse. Wow, this really is dwarven. Perhaps suggest that it would be a simple matter to march on the quarter, or simpler still to withdraw infrastructure support. A tunnel breach would be most unfortunate, but current policy direction prohibits any deal that would legitimize cartel operations. Downward pressure on certain elements of our society has proven useful in, you think, shoring up the economy with an excess of affordable labor. It also encourages enlistment in the Legion of the Dead, the one accepted path to partial redemption, and a vital force to our weakening front lines. This model suffers when criminals create their own hierarchies with ulterior motives of social advancement. Yep, that is the most dwarven thing I've read all day. Don't start a gang, be our workforce. Go be our soldiers on the front line, but don't start your own thing. Know your place, darn it. Every stone has a face that can't be carved, a side that must be earthward. We need this our so-called dust town. Ha! You admit it. But it would be inadvisable to incline that in your negotiations. We have the utmost faith in you, Capt. The rest is obscured by bloodstains. From confidentially Assembly directive regarding proliferation of the cartels. Yeah. That is the most dwarven thing I have ever read. We like our bureaucracy. The Shaper's Life. The blessings of the Shaper is given only to those who walk with the stone. It is a path that cuts deep, and the road is far from secure. But those who desire to work in memory must first honor it. Document the stone, protect her, and present a new history to the memories. Only then will the blessing of the Shaper be upon you. From the Shaper's Life. Orzammar has carved a legacy from the stone. But history is more than the comings and goings that fill the streets. These caverns are old cuts and well-traveled. The true will of the stone is revealed far from the halls of politics and commerce. The Shaper must step away from the familiar and seek out revelations from the frontier or buried secrets from abandoned paths. The Shaper must first walk away if he is to return. First steps from the Shaper's Life. Wow, that is kind of tragic. Okay, let's go 24. Asunda. The ritual was very specific, as such things probably should be. Torso, head, and limbs, spread amongst the deep roads to prevent the creature from returning. Returning? We can take it. Looks like they died during the cutting. But we can fulfill the last part of their stead. I'm not familiar with elven rituals, but why would I be? But it seems pretty straightforward. Fine, famous last words, folks. Shaper Access. Scribbled in the corner. Never even saw the thing. Bet a sword would take care of it. Sod it, and their bag of legs. I think we could take it, whatever it is. Just saying. Unbound. 3 weathered parchments with 3 versions of the same incomplete story. Excerpt. And when his kingdom fell, so disappeared the stolen riches of an age. The beast, the unbound, dormant until one true spirit claims his throne. So must hunt the hero of his people, the principled who would search for ancient evil. This is how they can make a real difference. Scribbled in the corner, shaky hand. 3 pages, 3 ages. Same story updated. Same as the tavern song, but older. Signature torn on purpose. But compare and get Wilhelm Madame. All from him. How? Yeah, that's a thing. We should look into that. Caged in stone. The inscription is old and worn, overlooked by most as a carving detail. The beast is foreign, but the need is familiar. Home and hearth suffer beneath strength and strangeness. These new kin of this Ferelden are better as friends than strangers. So we resist on their behalf, and work with their users to bind with the stone. They no longer fear their skies, and we further our trade above. Lured from above, cornered and corralled, 3 standing in position, a 4th signals the throne. Stasis for the beast, so long as a king holds the throne, so long as a king wills it held. Ew. I know what this quest is, and we're gonna get to that pretty soon. Inscription circa 590 exalted. And now we're gonna hop over to 329, Friends of Regeni. The task was never promised to be easy. You said you could enter the Circle Tower, and you were believed. Find the small painted box in the first Enchanter Irving's office, and deliver it to the door marked in Denham as agreed, or be prepared to find yourself hunted across Ferelden. Friends of Regeni. There is a sketched map of several doors. It requires the box to be placed on it to block out false leads. Yeah, good times. But we're not going to do that for quite a bit, because we're not going to Denham for quite a bit. Okay, spell combinations. Shattering. A creature frozen or petrified by magic, as from spells petrify or cold of cold, is in a vulnerable state, subject to shattering. If excessive force is applied to just the right spot, a critical hit from any weapon may suffice, and the spell Stonefist and Crushing Prison have been known to achieve the effect as well. Yeah, you can get some pretty nasty combinations with spells. Just saying. Let us do books and songs. It starts with 216. The Legion of Steel. Paragon Cardigan vanished in the 11th year of the reign of King Valtor, and with the Paragon the entire process of golem manufacture was lost. Expeditions were sent into the deep roads to track him, but the Darkspawn drove them all back. Finally, in the 2nd year of the reign of Queen Getha, that's oddly close to my name, 126 golems, the entire Legion of Steel, were sent to recover the Paragon. None returned. The Shaper of Golems refused to support any further attempts to find Caridin, and the Paragon was officially declared dead. The Shaperate never recovered from the loss of the entire Legion of Golems, and never again allowed an all-golem regiment in the deep roads. Let's not tell Shale this story. From the Stone Halls of the Dwarves by Brother Genetivi, Gentry Scholar. Yeah, Genetivi knows a lot of stuff. Not too surprised Genetivi does not play more role in these games. In praise of the humble Nug. I once served a human some Nug, and he proclaimed that it was like eating an unholy union of pork and hare. The idea disturbed him so much that he declined to finish the serving, and made himself content with some stale bread. Oh, boo, that is a waste. And again, I also like hare and pork, so... I don't know what they taste like together. I've never considered it, but... just saying. Of course, this only goes to show that surfacers, humans or otherwise, you know, those elves and Canary people, have tragically unrefined palates. The Nug is surely the most delicious animal that I've ever tasted. Only a dead man would not salivate at the thought of a tender morsel of roast Nug melting in his mouth. The Paragon Baden, although his house has fallen, shall always be remembered for discovering the wonders of Nug flesh. Admittedly, it was discovered only out of desperation, when he was separated from his legion lost in the deep roads for a week. But we won't hold that against the good Paragon. No, Again, good food is where you find it. Well, Nug pancakes and nuggets. Nuggets. Oh, game. Ow. My own children love these. Are the nug dishes one encounters most often. Nug can be prepared in other interesting and elegant ways. The late King Ansgar, the Dukin, my people, adored nug, served on a hot metal plate, and finished in the oven, and dressed in a cream sauce flavored with deep mushrooms. That does sound good, actually. You must be careful when using mushrooms from the deep roads, because they often grow close to darkspawn bodies. Okay, it sounds less delicious now. They say that this is what gives them their unique flavor and intoxicating scent, but it also means that consuming too many of them can result in curious afflictions of the mind. From Praise the Humble Nug by Brigand Tolban, honored chef of House Idukin. Aww. So I'm going to be that guy then. Traditional dwarven folk songs. Nug sits in the mud, Nug wiggles his ears. You catch the Nug, he slips away. Nug gets to live another day. Nug sits in the mud, Nug wiggles his toes. You hook the Nug, he slips away. Now the Nug runs off to play. Nug sits in the mud, Nug wiggles his nose. You tickle the Nug, he laughs away. Now the Nug sits on my plate. Oh, that got dark. Nug pancakes. A well-loved dwarven nursery rhyme. So in other words, if you're a Nug, don't get tickled. Gotcha. The Journal of Enchanter Wilhelm. Let us not read this to shell. Let us hope our friend is not paying attention. 13. Platanius. The interrogation of the demon is going well, and is rather fascinating, provided that what it is saying is true. I have sent all my research so far to First Enchanter Arden, and while he is concerned about my safety, he does not think there is a reason to stop just yet. Other than you're talking to a demon and nothing good comes of that if you're a mage? Just saying. All I hope is that the Templars do not discover what I am doing. How will we ever find ways to deal with the demonic possession if the Chantry does not let us research it? That is a good point, but you're not smarter than a demon. Or most humans are not smarter than demons. It is why we continuously keep losing to them. 20. Iluvista. Young Matthias nearly wandered down here again today, and this time I forgot to leave the barrier up. I believe I will key the defenses to ignore anyone of my blood. I would rather have the boy stumble into my laboratory than have him killed by forgetfulness. Poor lad. All he wants is to know why his father spent so much time beneath the tower. I will spend more time with him soon. I swear it. Do you? Do you? Do you? 28. Aluvista. Shell is acting strangely. I wonder if I should discontinue my experimentations upon it. Yes, you should. I am so near a breakthrough. I am certain. Perhaps it is best if I focus on the demon. Yeah, it is. 2. Maternalis. And I am sorry if I am butchering these names. I do not know how to pronounce them. The demon almost managed to get away again. Trickery. I shall have to be more careful. Young Eamon sent a letter asking me to return to Redcliffe. I shall have to consider it soon. 11. Maternalis. Could it be? What an intriguing discovery, especially considering that the demon was attempting to keep me from it at all costs. Or did it lead me to that information by seeming to deny it from me? I must discover the truth. Must you? Must you? I'm just saying. You could let it go. It probably wants to go back to the Fade by now. 19. Umbrial. I think it is time to dismiss this demon. I think you're right. Perhaps you should never have kept it in the first place. It is not a puppy or a kitty. It's dead now. It is too dangerous for me to continue holding it, and I cannot discount the possibility that it is having some influence over the golem. Aw, we're kitty and shell friends. Aw. Or is it my experiments? I was Try to deactivate Shell for the time being, and then deal with the demon once and for all. Let it end here. There are no further entries. From the Journal of Enchanter Wilhelm. Soljubacher. Yeah, Shay, I think your boss is dead. Culture and history. Okay, there's not that many. Let's go 134. The Casteless. And you are a super long one, of course you are. The caste system in Orzammar includes many groups of privileges. The nobility and the warriors above all others, but to a lesser degree the merchants and the smiths and the miners. Tradition establishes a clear hierarchy, but as in any culture with an upper class, there's also a clear underclass. These unfortunates, the so-called casteless, are believed to be descendants of criminals and other undesirables. They have been looked down upon since Orzamar's foundation. They have taken up residence in a place called Dust Town, a crumbling ruin on the fringe of Orzammar common areas. Wow, you are pretentious, sir, madam. Orzammar society considers these casteless lower than even the servant caste. Wow, nice to know what you think of the people that serve you. Indeed, the castlets are not allowed to become servants. That's not good. Yeah, they do need to be able to get out of poverty, as it is too honorable a position. Yeah, that sounds about Dwarven. They are seen as little better than animals, their faces branded at birth to mark them as bastard children of the kingdom. Their home district, little more than a slum, is a haven for crime. Well, maybe if they had jobs and could get money and could move out of the slum. Just saying, you're a little short-term planned here. Organized and otherwise. Orzammar's guards seemingly cannot be bothered to patrol its streets. The best that most casteless dwarves can hope for is a life at the whim of a local crime lord. Ended abruptly by violence or an overabundance of toxic lichen ale. Wow, you are not a nice person that wrote this. Even so, there is some hope for the casteless, a dangling rope that offers way up into greater Orzammar society. Since a dwarf's caste is determined by the parent of the same sex, the male child of a nobleman is part of the noble's house and caste. But what if it's a noblewoman and she has a daughter? Just saying. That's very oddly worded, Orzammar. Strangely, it is acceptable for casteless women to train in the arts of courtly romance to woo nobles and warriors. They are known as noble hunters. Any male born from such a union is considered a joyous event, considering the low rate of dwarven fertility. Really, this is where we're going with it, people. Really. The mother and the entire family are then taken into the father's house, although they retain their caste. The dwarves we know on the surface are also considered casteless once they leave Orzammar, although this is only relevant to those who return, if they are allowed to return at all. Dwarves who leave for the surface, the sun-touched, as they're often called behind their backs. Hey, tans are awesome. Also, vitamin D. Free source. Lose their connection to the stone, and have the favor of the ancestors, and thus are worthy of little more than pity. For upon dying, they are said to be lost to the stone forever. Put that way, it seems a sad existence indeed. From the Stone Halls of Dwarves by Brother Genetivi, Chantry Scholar. Yeah, my... Ulrika's people, everybody. Ulrika's people. Let's go 139. Cut to Kalsharok. 1155, the Deventer Imperium will be known as the year of painful decisions. But we cannot waver. The threat we face is the greatest we have known. If we are overrun, all trace of the ancestors' glory will be undone. Orzammar must stand, and it must stand alone. Horma, Kalsharok, Gundar, we have lost contact, and must assume they are lost to the Horde. We must seal the weakest links in our defense, the deep roads that lead to the fallen brethren. I have ordered our finest demolitionists to place the charges. I ask that each of you think of those we have lost. They served as the warning that spurred us into action. And I know the stone will embrace them. They are the foundation of our survival, and they will not be forgotten. From a proclamation by High King Threestone. 200 years! Kalsharok lives, you stone-forsaken deep lords! There is no greater hatred than a brother at your throat. Graffiti. Author unknown. Oh, graffiti. Author unknown. Wow, that's a new level of reading comprehension for me. Sorry, folks. Legion of the Dead. Yes, Stone's greeting, friend. You will fight ceaselessly in the Legion of the Dead. Motto, the Legion of the Dead. So I was told by one of the legionaries himself. A dwarf who waited quietly at the entrance to the deep roads for the rest of his unit to assemble. They gathered slowly, each equipped with heavy armor and fine weapons, each painted with grim tattoos applied at their funerals the night previous. For that is the nature of the Legion. They are all dead. Any dwarf may join the Legion, so long as he is willing to give up everything he has. Or she, come on. Gender neutrals here, folks. The funeral rites are somber, a final goodbye is said to family and loved ones. Any material goods are dispersed to the heirs and last words are said, and then it is done. The new legionary marches out into the deep roads, never to return. The Legion fights against the Darkspawn to the last, striking one final blow against the monsters that have claimed so much of their homeland. It is a noble, noble sacrifice, in other words. And that's very honorable of them. I just have a feeling, knowing dwarven bureaucracy, some people are forced down this path, more so than others. Many join the Legion to clear the slate. Criminals join to avoid punishment. The dishonored join so their houses and families need not suffer on their behalf. The bankrupted join so their debts might be forgiven. A very few join for a last chance at glory, but the Legion takes them too. This group hopes to reach the fabled fortress of Bonamar, once the Legion's home. Associated with greatest of their paragons, Bonamar is a holy place. Its loss the last great blow against the dwarven kingdoms, and its recapture would be a glorious signal to all of Orzammar. But to capture it or no, all of these warriors will die in the deep roads. It is a sobering thought, and I now know why the dwarves say the Legion's charge is battlefield's most frightening sight. They have nothing left to lose. From the Stone Halls the Dwarves by Brother Genetivi, Chantry Scholar. Dwarven Faith. Because we believe in stuff. Beyond bureaucracy and golems. We are the children of the stone. She supports us, shelters us, offers us the most priceless gifts of the earth. The worthy return to her embrace in death, becoming ancestors. And the unworthy are cast out, unable to rest, that their failing may not weaken the stone. So it has been since the earliest memories. We live by the stone, guided by the ancestors, who speak with the voice of the provings, and whose memories the Shaperate keeps forever in lyrium. We do not accept the empty promises of heaven, as the wild elves do, or vie for the favor of absent gods. Instead, we follow the footsteps of our paragons, the greatest of our ancestors, warriors, craftsmen, leaders, the greatest examples of life spent in service to our fellow dwarves. Our paragons joined with the stone in life, and now stand watch at our gates, ushering in those surface privileged to visit our city. We know there is no greater honor to hope for, no better reward for an exceptional life, as told by Shaperate, that guy. The chant of light is almost never heard in the halls of Orzammar. This is hardly surprising, for, unlike the elves, who are literally abandoned by their gods, or the Tvinters, who worship dragons, the dwarves have no gods at all. Even the concept of worship is foreign in the Orzammar. Instead, the dwarves seem to venerate the stone, a name they give to the earth itself. This seems practical for a people living underground, if perhaps a bit unimaginative. For guidance in spiritual matters, they turn to their ancestors. These ancestors, who are said to have returned to the stone, communicate their wishes to the living via brutal trials by combat called provings. The ancestors' collective wisdom is maintained by the Shaperate, which can apparently store records in lyrium itself. Set above the ancestors, above even kings, are the paragon dwarves, who have achieved such a greatness that they are elevated almost to godhood. These are great figures holding up the hallways that leads to the surface, the first glimpse of Orzammar that outsiders see. From Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chancery Scholar by Brother Janet Teavee. Shale. What can I say? I have a heart of stone. The golems of Orzammar once made up the vanguard of the dwarven army, holding back the tides of darkspawn that flooded out of the deep roads. But the art of making them was lost, and many of them succumbed and wared in damage in battle. Shale has no memories either of the time spent fighting in the deep roads, or of coming to Honoleth, only a few spotty and bitter recollections of their last master. Ulrika unearthed Shale's control rod and awakened her, adding a bitter, malfunctioning golem to the menagerie of companions. Yeah, I will literally recruit anyone, I'm just saying. Zeveran, the crow sent their regards. He is awesome. I cannot do his accent well. Between the Devinter Imperium, Raveni, and the Free Marches sits the nation of Antiva. Although it possesses few resources of its own, Antiva's location makes it the center of trade in the north, and the capital, Antiva City, is the wealthiest in the world. Antiva has virtually no army. The monarchy is too weak to support one. Most Antivans would be hard-pressed even to name the current king, as the true power lies in the hands of a dozen merchant princes. And princesses, just saying. It can be some ladies up in there too. Each with a personal army, and each locked in a constant struggle for power against all of the others. Cool. So it's bureaucracy or lay? Anyone would think, then, that Antiva would be a ripe target for invasion by one of her neighbors. But even the Canari leave Antiva alone for one very good reason. The House of Crows. The most efficient, most feared, and most expensive guild of assassins in the world calls Antiva their home, and their reputation alone defends the borders. That is actually really impressive. Zevran was the crow contracted by Loghain. Loghain! To assassinate Alistair and Ulrika. No! One failed attempt later. Ha ha ha! However, he found himself at the mercy of his would-be victims. Yes, he was. We tied him up and everything. They showed him an unexpected mercy, and in return he swore to aid the Warden in their quest to end the Blight. Zevran has shown an affinity for the finer things in life, hardly surprising for an Antivan crow. But his appreciation can be more poetic than he lets on. A simple bar of refined silver or gold, uncomplicated by a craftsman's hammer, is elegantly valuable. Aw, that actually explains some things about him. Sophia Dryden. Sophia Dryden is Ferelden's light and her most brilliant jewel. Nothing on this earth can ever quench her fire. Well, yeah. Things we know. Arlessa Sophia Dryden was the young Arlen's rival for the throne of Ferelden. Dryden was a strong and charismatic leader with much support from the Banorn. When Arlen finally won the crown, Dryden refused to relent. She pushed her claim, was caught, and accused of treason. Her sympathizers continued to support her, however. In order to appease them, Dryden was spared execution and forced to join the Grey Wardens instead. 'Cause that can only end in good, right? This is why I get kicked out for Elton, isn't it? Gosh darn it, Sophia! Dryden survived the joining and dazzled the Grey Wardens at Soldier's Peak with her leadership skills and charm. Yeah, if she was in line for the throne, yeah. She eventually rose through the ranks to become the Warden Commander of Ferelden. Before Commander Dryden, the Grey Wardens were seen as a relic of an older time and an unnecessary drain on the nobles' coffers. Dryden, though, with her political connections, reinvigorated the Wardens and rapidly increased their numbers. In the meantime, King Arlen proved himself a devious king, willing to go to brutal lengths to silence his opponents. Arlen's reign of terror grew worse with each passing year, and some of the bands approached Commander Dryden, in desperation, begging her to intercede. She agreed, and thus was the rebellion against King Arlen born. Arlen learned of the rebellion and took steps to end it. He publicly suspended all tithing to the Grey Wardens, and declared that they were no longer welcome in Ferelden. Some of the wardens, mindful that they were supposed to remain politically neutral, politically neutral, no, felt disgraced by Dryden's involvement in Freldon politics and left her side, even as the king's forces laid siege to Soldier's Peak. The siege took months and ended in the death of Sophia Dryden. From the personal files of Levi Dryden, merchant. Whew. Oh, we still have notes. Really? Okay, there's not that many. Let's go to 231. A note from Hunold Village Council. Mistress Matilda, the council has unanimously agreed to put you in charge of decorations for Hunold's upcoming Harvest Festival. We all adored what you did with the village for the winter solstice. As usual, the statue must be adorned with items that capture the essence of the season. Iris kindly offered the use of her wide-brimmed straw hat with the berries and daisies, and would love to see it on the statue. Oh, poor Shale. Poor Shale. Farmer Goodman will also donate some of his baby pumpkins. We think a garland of small pumpkins and ribbons draped about the statue's shoulders would be lovely. Whatever you decide will be splendid, I'm sure, and we all look forward to it, Councilman Murray. Except for Shale. I'm pretty sure Shale did not look forward to any of this. Knowing who Shale is. 237. Decades-old letter. Madame, I can assure you that the Circle of Magi is not a sacrilegious institution, and that, indeed, we operate under the supervision of the Chantry. It would make our investigation of your husband's death much easier if you would simply cooperate with us. I am disappointed to hear that you sold the golem's activation rod. I understand both it and your husband were of individual aid to King Merrick during the war against Orlais. Without the rod, we cannot discern whether Wilhelm's golem was responsible for his murder. The golem will simply have to remain where it is unless the villagers can find a means to destroy it. No! No destroying Shale! No! Our condolences to you and your son for your loss. I imagine it is of little consolation to you, but your husband is much admired here and will be missed. Maker keep you. First Enchanter Arlen. Black Veils. Binding the first corpse walker. Let the dead no longer serve your whim. Bound by your true name, no mortal hand shall reach you. Kel Vizagat, revenant, and provision of an unholy son. Death beyond death is no longer your stepping stone through the veil. Andraste hold you, demon, and bind your rage for eternity. 6 thumbprints in blood mark the end of the text. Cheery. Binding the second corpse walker. Cast from your host, may you find no purchase on mortal ground. Bound by your true name, as we were sworn to do. Nethamasa Bigel, revenant and provision of fine daughter. No more will you test the veil, nor reach the fade to escape. Andraste hold you, demon, and bind your rage for eternity. 6 thumbprints in blood mark the end of the text. Cheery. And now, correspondence interrupted. A collection of embarrassing personal communications between the spoiled wealthy and their objects of obsession. A delicate matter. While I am overjoyed at the prospect of having you, an unwelcome guest requires that you excuse yourself by the postern of my estate to avoid a mark upon our reputations. M. Dear Sir John, your ministrations, well-intentioned, hold no promise. Do not despair, for it is not you, it is of me. I require an interval to acquaint myself with the personage you awakened. I am certain we can maintain an amiable accord and that engagements with our mutual associations will not be awkward. Marie. And I believe we have now caught up on all the codexes for now. Cool. Okay, we have been going for a great deal longer than what I intended for this session, but we got through a lot, so I think here's a good place to cut the video. Until next, tak ligatilok hidro.